Well, hello. It's been a while. This
It
time for
sure
sure.
has. You had the band manners to go on holiday.
I know. I went off
You
and
got a lot of nerve.
I know, I know, but it was good. The holiday was good except for the jet lag on both sides. I didn't like it, but
When we were younger, it was okay, but as we get older, it's harder.
yeah, it's more difficult. And the thing is that I didn't amazingly, even though I should have done better because being an astrologer, it occurred to me after that it would have been better to leave a week later and come back a week later because I kind of walked myself into more pressure than I needed, especially like on the way in, that full moon. The full
Oh,
moon, even when under normal conditions, have you noticed that the full moon is harder to sleep? When the full moon is
yes,
full.
yeah.
So in this case, I mean, it was really, really intense and I was very tired and I couldn't sleep, for a couple of days. I could only get a couple of hours. So then you're in that state. Anyways, bottom line, the middle part, the actual holiday was great. So I'm
Okay, good.
thankful for that.
So listen, I just want to bring up to everybody, you and I were just talking about Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh is Aquarius with moon in Cancer. I
We
don't know
don't know the time of birth though.
I don't know the time of birth. I only know the day of birth. And the most I can say is that he's definitely in a rattled state because his sun position, which doesn't change even with a different birth time, it's the same sun position. Uranus is in there squaring, and if you're in public life and someone is looking into your affairs and there is cause to be rattled or upset, then that's what's going to happen to you. So I'm quite sure he's feeling nervous about what's going on. That
Yeah,
is
because
100%
now
true.
Senator, what's his name? White, Senator Shelton,
Is it White House? I can't
White
remember if.
House, I think. Anyway, he's found out it took him 6 years. He said the FBI blocked him, and he found out that the FBI was not allowed to investigate Kavanaugh. All those people that came in, Trump said no.
Yeah, that's coming out, and yeah, I mean, it just shows you, by the way, how criminal and how crooked Trump is. That he accuses everyone else of being a criminal. As soon as he's in there, he's manipulating all the levers. He thinks that the power's all for him. So
Yeah,
Comey was being investigated by the IRS for no good reason, just to harass the guy, right? So
yeah, and
that's how
then
Trump
also
plays.
he gave Putin uh,
Tests. Yeah,
test.
yeah.
Well, it was actually a machine.
Yeah, no, it's coming out. I mean, this is the thing that whatever else you can say, his astrology is rough in October, and it's especially rough starting around the middle of the month. That full moon, not friendly to him, and then another 10 days or so, so like right into the end of the month. So other stuff is going to come out, right? Other
Yeah.
embarrassing things.
Well, it's interesting because my hit for a while now is that Kamala wins bigly. Your head is that it'll take a while before everybody's all settled on it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is also, I think, just political common sense. Trump never accepts defeat.
That's
If he
true.
loses close, absolutely he's going to fight. And if he loses big, he'll say, how could I have lost big? Because I was ahead. It's not possible. They must have cheated. And the thing is, a lot of these people that follow him, they follow him, to the end of the earth. I mean, whatever he says, they'll follow. So, at minimum, he's going to throw it in court. I think he's going to throw it in challenge. And he saw the Supreme Court back him in a way that I think is very unfair and stupid. And I sincerely hope will be taken up at some point and
It will
removed.
be. That'll be reversed.
Right. But in the meantime, he's hoping that if you can throw him some crumbs, at least they'll do something crazy. I suspect not. I think with the Supreme Court, yes, there's a definite corruption level there, especially Alito and Thomas. They're
Yeah.
completely in the tank. But you got to give them something to work with. You can't just show up and say there was cheating and whatever.
Well,
you
they
know,
turned him down 63 times that year.
correct. Yeah, yeah. You know, it becomes too obvious if, for example, I don't know, he's contesting Pennsylvania, and the judge in Pennsylvania says, "Well, I got nothing here," and then what are they going to say, that they have something? No, you know, it's so. But nevertheless, it's Trump's favorite trick: delay, 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 and where Saturn is stationing in November, then there's a Mercury retrograde period into mid-December. There's another station in there of Neptune. My feeling is mid-December at the earliest, before, which by the way makes sense because that's when they certify. Isn't that mid-December when they uh, start to certify the results?
January 6th.
Well, that's the final. That's Congress, but
Oh,
the states have to have their certification
oh,
papers in by
okay.
mid-December.
Okay.
So, but I'm glad that you're picking up that
I've been
Kamala
picking it
wins,
up
right?
from the beginning.
Yeah, no, and my, we said this. You and I said this. What, in July, or
He's definitely not going to be president. And
no, no.
I definitely feel that these maggots are going to get hit by Jack Smith for being part of the last disruption in January 6th. Because I told you he's got subpoenas ready to go. But I do see a lot of people saying this guy did us absolutely no good. What the hell are we doing? We need to move on.
Well, do you see? Here's the thing that also worries people a lot, which is that, and my feeling is no to the violence, in the sense that every signal that these MAGA people have sent for years is they're not willing to do the violence anymore because they ended up in the slammer. He's calling them in and saying, "You got to get violent. You got to do something." I don't know. I feel like the reason he was able to do that because he was president. And when you're
Yeah.
president, you have the seal of approval. They thought, well, he's the president, we can do this. Now it's not so clear because he's not
Well,
president.
look at the proof is in the pudding. Look at what happened when he was calling on people to protest when
They
he got
didn't, yeah,
arrested in New York and he was standing out there and there was nobody. I
right.
think 6 or 7 people showed up at Mar-a-Lago and they wouldn't even let them use the toilets.
Precisely. So to me, it's set up for frustration where he doesn't get, because people are saying he's going to do another January 6th. How? How are you going to
How?
do that? What are you going to do? You're going to you can't hit the Capitol. Unbelievably stupid idea. You want to do that? You're going to walk yourself into the slammer for sure, right?
And the
What else?
FBI have already said they're triple covering. None of this bull anymore. They're triple covering the Capitol and making sure everything. And they just arrested a man. And I told people this. There are people talking about doing something bad. But I saw the CIA, FBI, and everybody, and they're not perfect, but I saw them with an extra listening to intel, listening, and they just caught a Afghanistan man trying to come into the US, I think from Canada, and he was going to do some horrible things, but they got him.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's the way it works. And it's just, I would counsel any MAGA person, don't do it. It's not a good idea, right? You're following a fool, and you're being a fool if you do this, because you're going to end up in trouble. And this is true, by the way. I mean, people say, well, what if someone starts shooting up people? Well, then you'll go to jail. I mean, that's what's happened to these people that go nuts and go off. Remember that guy that tried to take on the entire FBI? Like, how's that a wise move? You have a weapon, they have many weapons. So what's that about? Right, now, of course, Trump wants that. The other possibility could be demonstrations in the streets. That's possible, that they go and they make some noise.
I
But
don't
again,
see big demonstrations. I see people, because of these changes in the Earth's atmosphere, people just trying to live, people just trying to make a living and not wanting to get involved with this.
yeah, no, exactly, yeah, yeah. And the thing that I've said this for years, his chart doesn't signal a win, it signals a loss. And Kamala's is great at the moment. I mean,
You said that. You saw her in November looking fantastic.
yeah, she's got a stronger chart, and there are all kinds of markers. Like, the other thing that's a telltale sign is that the way this is shaken out, to for a woman to rise at a moment when women's issues are in the
Forced
program. It's the most important issue. This, by the way, is what people may have heard Michael Moore. Michael Moore he's pretty good at picking up on the flow, and he had said in 2016 Trump's going to win, and people thought, oh, he could see. Now he's saying, no way, the tsunami of women that are going to vote, this guy is, he's in the wrong place, because they're talking about his whole strategy, by the way, is to drive up MAGA turnout, because he's not even bothering to try to convince anyone in the center. That's why he didn't do another debate or do 60 minutes. Not interested in that, right? So he wants to get more rural people to come out. Already that didn't work in 2020 because he got way more votes, but Democrats got even more votes. It's a losing strategy. The man is not smart. He doesn't really understand the pattern. I mean, he pretends to be a genius, but he doesn't really think things through, and then he gets in trouble. So, yeah, that's how I see it.
He's talking out his rear. He doesn't make any sense.
No.
He's always griping. People are tired of it. But what the hell is it with Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson talking and laughing about an assassination of Kamala? They were laughing about it. What the hell's that about?
Fame and money really corrupt. They really do. And Musk, he has so much money that he equates that to influence. But now he's revealing himself to be a lousy businessman too. Twitter is worth 20% of what he paid for it, because when you run a business, you want to include as many people as possible. You don't want to turn it into this thing where
I think down the road he's in trouble. I see the United States turning their contracts to somebody else.
Yeah, well, he's a Cancer with Cancer rising, strong Cancer energy. Saturn is going into Aries next, a little bit next year, a lot the year after. When you play the way he's playing, he's going to get pushback on that. It's the same with Putin. Putin is walking himself into a whole lot of restriction and a whole lot of trouble from where Saturn and Neptune too, but Saturn
and
especially.
You know what? It's not necessarily when Saturn. I notice this about myself. I'll get the effects of Saturn right before it enters. It's like it's coming, but it.
Yeah, well, it kind of leads you that way. It's just that these people that have that cardinal energy, you have to be patient. Some of it may not show up fully until 26. As long as it's going that way, relax. It's fine, right? Because people want that right away. This should happen. No, it doesn't. I mean, especially because all democracies have a lot of protections for the individual. So you can extend. I mean, look what Trump does. He just keeps extending, filing motions, most of them ridiculous, things that make no sense. I like listening to Wiseman and McCord. They're two great lawyers, and they'll be saying, "Oh, this is like complete garbage." They'll say this thing they filed, there's no way that the judge will allow it, but you can file, and that delays a little bit, and you keep it going. And so basically, if you have money, and the thing about Musk has plenty of money. I mean, he can keep it going for quite a while. But yeah, you're right. The government pushing back, and yeah, things not going well. I would agree. And by the way, he's not terribly helpful. Probably people saw what he did with that rally. He's a very strange man. He's not charismatic. He doesn't have a clear message.
Oh, he's Asperger's. He's off.
Yeah, no, and apparently he's a user of ketamine as well. And when you're using heavy mind-altering, body-altering substances, you're slowly walking yourself into a problem. It may not show up right away, but it will eventually show up. And along the way, it affects your judgment. And you do things.
He told Tucker Carlson that he really wants Trump to win. Because
sure.
he wants to be part of that administration.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Tucker Carlson, he's more of a victim of fame. He didn't succeed at anything until Fox hired him, and he found his niche, and then he realized that being, ultra right wing, I mean, he likes people like Putin and Orban, and so in his case, I think he's probably more likely to skate for a while. Carlson, I think, will have his niche, kind of in the same range as people like Joe Rogan, who they play to the right, the sort of the ultra masculinity type energy, right? But see, that's the thing, right? We're still in that. There's a battle in the sky between Eris and Pluto. Pluto is masculinity, ultra masculine. Eris is the feminine energy. The Eris placement is much stronger. Sorry. I mean, I think it's. I mean, you gotta say that a lot of this is very ironic, right? Because these people are men. Where are they? And now they're going to put a woman into the presidency. He arranged this. He made it happen.
He made
You
it
know,
happen.
he made it happen by going after Biden's age. Now, then you get into other patterns. Biden could have done something different. What it doesn't matter. That's what happened. He made it happen. That's why he kept saying, "Oh, I wish I hadn't said anything. Then I'd still be right."
He
There
even
you go.
said at the big, what is it, the convention? He said that Biden was going to walk in and take his position back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Just like back in 2021, he kept saying that he was going to be reinstated, and I kept thinking, reinstated to what and how? Explain that to me. How does that work? And of course, it didn't happen. Honestly, Trump is barely. I'm not kidding you. He's like just a little bit smarter than that pillow guy. Honestly, they're equally deluded, making the craziest statements. Thinking this is going to do something. No, it's not. It's just not.
So anything on Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House? Have you seen anything on him?
I don't have any clarity on the. Do you on the House? Because I don't have any super clear information on
What
Johnson
I can tell you is that Chris, he wouldn't call them back to approve FEMA money, which is sort of a slap on the face for their constituents. That's not going to help their cause. And the other thing, and I think they know it. I think they know that the subpoenas are waiting on them. I really do. Somehow or the other, they know that the minute this thing is over, and we know Kamala is going to be our new president, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah, as it should be, as it should be. But in this case, the Jack Smith approach is the total opposite of what Garland was doing, because Garland was doing bottom up. This guy's doing top down. So he's going for
Yeah.
the big fish first, and then because then if he's in trouble, of course the other people have to be in trouble. And yeah, it makes total sense. I
I
mean,
get a feeling they know, and I don't know why, but I get a feeling they know.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, if
And
you
let me
left,
tell you, Jack is patiently waiting for November 5th.
yeah, yeah, and in his case too, you see how the Jupiter Saturn is slowing him down, but he's got lots of Jupiter to work with between November and next summer, to really accomplish a lot. So, yeah.
Oh,
Jack
once
Smith.
he gets going, it don't stop. It's bada bing, bada boom. And I'm telling you, the new AG that comes in with Kamala, when she takes the keys, it's another woman. I feel it's another woman.
Really, another
And
woman
I
AG?
feel she's bada boom. She's definitely not sitting back like, I like Merrick Garland, but he goes too slowly.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a traditional politician, and to be fair, I mean, we have to be fair about this, because if we go back to 2021, I remember that I myself thought, okay, maybe it's a better idea to not get in there right away, because there was this possibility that the country could come together. But in reality, I think once you see the way these guys play, you have to take the gloves off. And then he took them off too late.
Yeah.
And so, but now, I think now they've learned, right? And, now you have a prosecutor, so we'll see, right? I mean, my feeling is it's not good if you've committed crimes.
And the other thing is that there was a lot of people who were, if you'll notice, he got rid of a lot of Secret Service and everything because they were in the pocket of Trump.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about, people have said this, bears repeating. Trump is all projection and confession. Everything he's telling you, he's doing. And so he calls people corrupt, he calls people liars. I've never seen a bigger liar, a more corrupt individual in my entire life. And I wish, Kamala hasn't said this yet, I wish someone would say, the reason this is happening to you is because you're a criminal. It's not complicated. You keep saying that this has never happened to anyone before. I know, because we've never had a criminal like you. That's why. I mean, and you're totally open about it. I mean, you just commit crime in daylight and say that it isn't crime. Yes, it is. In what In what universe do you think it's okay to attack the seat of government and defecate the walls? If you allow that to happen, where does our system go? Right?
Exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
going, like, are we going to allow people to go into a police station and start shooting up? No, of course not. That's the
Yeah.
whole point. Yeah. So, anyways,
So do you see anything on Rupert Murdoch hitting the bucket soon?
well, yeah, because Rupert Murdoch, he's a cardinal sign. So when you're in your 90s and Saturn paying you a visit, yeah, it makes it rougher. Like at minimum, between 25 and 27, either it's that or it pushes back on him and he has to disappear. He can't operate as well because he's now becoming too old. I'm really curious about that one. There's the thing that I read about how there's a trust that is in place from a previous marriage. Something happened there where his children inherit the entire thing and equally, but he's trying to give it to Lachlan, who is the MAGA kid.
Yeah.
The other two are against it, but apparently they're fighting it. And I don't have enough information to know, but I'm hoping that, because that would cause Fox News to unravel, if,
Oh, yeah. I saw all of it going down.
is that right? Well, then there you go. That could be the kids, because the kids, two of them, I believe, are against what he's doing. And the one that he wants it to continue.
Right.
He
I
wants it
see
to
them
continue.
being able to knock it in half.
Yeah.
Okay, Patty wants two questions for you, Andre. Number one, how are the astrological elements relating to current big weather and earth changes? So how are these astrological elements relating to big weather and earth changes, our current hurricanes, flooding, earthquakes? And number two, how are astrological elements contributing to increased transparency of immoral abuses, crime, fraud with celebrities, media, and other elites?
Well, I think both of those, you can see the weather. I said this in a video I made yesterday that the Uranus cycle, it's having all kinds of effects, but that's one of the effects. Like, by the way, one other effect is that the Uranus cycle is one of the signals about a woman being elected president, because it's doing a square to the U.S. moon. But that's also in the U.S. chart, the weather axis. So having shocking, really shocking events related to weather during this period and next year too, because Uranus doesn't get out until the year after that. And then the transparency, well, you're seeing it. Look how much is coming out. I mean, by the way, these guys, again, I'll say, they're just such terrible criminals, because Trump, it all comes out. He some of the stuff that is known, he told Woodward. He was telling him, like he said, oh, I know COVID is really bad, and he's telling the public, oh, no, don't worry, it'll disappear. It'll be like magic. Yeah, but he's telling the guy who's going to write the book, oh, I know, it's really dangerous. Of course, he wrote it. And how did Bob Woodward find out? I'm fascinated to know, how did he find out that he sent those tests to Putin?
Probably Trump told him. That's what an idiot
He can't keep his mouth shut. Like he was remember in Mar-a-Lago, they got him on tape telling people, oh yeah, look at these papers. And now he's saying, oh no, I was waving newspapers around. No, you weren't. You were. Anyway, he's like that. He has to say it, right? So
right.
basically.
And by the way, Putin just acknowledged that he did in fact give him that stuff.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I think transparency. By the way, that's another thing too, that if you're thinking transparency, you need planets like Uranus would shake things up, and that's what's happening. That's what it's doing.
Well, when I look on X, almost every other post is about some white guy who's a priest or a youth counselor or a police officer in government, white guys going to jail for molesting children.
Yeah, that's picked up a lot. Same with abusing women. Yeah, we're in that. We're definitely in that era, and I think it's a good thing, even though there can be abuses of that too. That always happens, right? That someone can take advantage. But again, you always go with sort of the logic that politicians should use, which is, if you're gonna do something, will this help more people, even though some people may not like it, but will the majority benefit? That's the key,
Exactly.
right? So to
Exactly.
me, it's important, even if there may be problems with it, it's much, much better, to have that payback because it's necessary. I mean, that kind of thing is just awful. You ruin people's lives. And by the way, this is the way the MAGA movement is. They don't seem to care about anyone. If they're immigrants, especially, right? They put their life in danger. Now they're putting
Oh,
everybody's
people
life
are
in
giving
danger.
all their money to the immigrants, all this bull.
Ah, yeah, it's bullpucky. It's horrible.
So I know I just asked about Elon Musk, but I don't know if we hit this specifically. Will there be any repercussions for him down the road?
Yes, there will be. Yes, it's just that it's down the road. Don't be in a rush because
Okay.
our system is set up except in unusual situations. You see it coming, but don't expect. This is not Russia where they can just knock on the door and take you away. It doesn't work like that, right? And be thankful that that's the case. So,
Right.
and especially a guy like him. I mean, he's got a lot of money to work with, a lot of influence.
I just hope it goes back to South Africa.
Whichever way. I mean, to me, as long as a person is pushed back and put in their lane, it's good enough for me. It's kind of like how you said over the years that you didn't see Trump in jail. You don't need to see him in jail as long as you see him out of the way.
Out of the way.
For me, it's enough. But someone was saying, do you feel like instead of jail, it could be like an asylum or some kind of health thing?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, yeah. So,
He'll be restricted, but I don't see him living long after he loses this time.
well that's a possibility as well because the chart is signaling really strongly, health liabilities. They're there
Did you ever take a look see at his VP?
at JD.
Uh-huh.
His it's set up such that you see the current level of fame, that he's enjoying. But there I just go with common sense as I look into the future. He wants to be the next MAGA, right? And so I think here's what my sense would be. In the post-election, he's going to try to take that role, but that's a role that's going to expire. They won't be able to. My feeling is that 4 years at most down the road, they got to switch gears because they realize they're losing. They're losing election after election, doing it this way.
So, has Andre done the astrology chart for Chief Justice Roberts? I know you did a chart on.
I looked at it, but he's another one that I have no birth time. And that was one. Remember that I said to you that I thought that this would be because you think it's sooner, right? You think it's right away.
I think after she wins, and they're going to go in there and give a what for to these. They're going to have hearings. I kept seeing them sitting before the Senate. They're going to ask people like Kavanaugh, well, where did you get all that money to pay all your bills? And Justice Thomas. Now I saw Justice Thomas package stuff up and go. I actually saw boxes on the desk and packing your stuff. I feel Alito and him packing their stuff. And I felt Roberts too. But he's more of a, you can't do this to me. You know what I'm saying? Rough. You can't do this to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's possible on what I have, which is a bit limited here for something that big. It would be later in the decade, but it is possible. I mean, charts have when you have an exact birth time, and when you're talking about things like this, all you need is the right birth time, or in this case for them, the wrong birth time. But the idea that you could be tossed, yeah. So to me that feels totally logical that the way the Supreme Court has behaved, and then finding themselves under pressure, especially the first 2 years of the
And also
administration.
to publicize their sin. To have hearings, they won't put up with it. They'll say, no, I'm out of here.
Yeah, well, especially if they've done something, right? So yeah, absolutely.
So Jennifer says, Linda and Andre, I appreciate your work. Andre, your prediction for the day after the VP debate was spot on. The reactivation of the Access Hollywood T-Square saw the release of Jack Smith's brief. Do you think the full moon period next week will see the release of evidence amended to that brief? Given the timing of the related court filings, the judge could easily make the decision about that next week.
All you can say, see, astrology is like a system of odds, and it's the idea: are the odds of that good? Yes, they are. The full moon, the mid-October to late October period is very unfavorable, and of course we know that there's a lot of legal swirling energy around this guy, and Judge Chutkan does not seem to have it care at all about this idea that
what for?
no, she's just dealing with it. So entirely possible, yes, that as well as other things. I mean, were you expecting to hear that he had sent tests to Putin? No, that's a new thing, right? Just like among many things that this guy does. So yes, the answer to that is distinct possibility, right? But if not, if let's say that it doesn't come out then around that, no worries, just relax because it's on its way, you know.
Okay.
Including, by the way, the thing with Eileen Cannon. I don't think that that's over by any means. That's going to come back.
No, it's not.
No.
Jorm wants to know, the Satan's chart looks like this month's, what does it look like for this month with all these incredibly poor decisions he's making?
Who?
This Satan.
DeSantis? Well, what poor decisions is he making? He's been in the background from he hasn't really been all that front and center.
No, I think it's something about the hurricane relief.
Yeah, but I think DeSantis, isn't he one of the ones that he's admitting that the White House is helping, that, you know, that it isn't really true?
He finally admitted it, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that, you know.
Because we can't even vote him out till 26, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing that, you know, if you get too granular in trying to take every single person down at the same time, and especially litigate past deeds and so on, you know, yes, eventually he'll run into a problem. Right now, you know, not a whole lot, I think.
Well, he's going to have a lot on his plate because this hurricane is nothing to ignore. It's going to create a lot of chaos, and he's going to really need the government's help.
Yeah, no, he's at least he's smart enough to work with the government because it's important, you know. And if he didn't do that, then he would get in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, you're seeing Trump and JD, they're being really awful. You know, Kamala's calling them out on it because they're not part of it. You know, it's not important to them, I guess. They just want the messaging that everything the government does is bad and, you know, horrible. But they're making things up, you know, that aren't true. So, you know.
So, Sati said, do astrologers already benefit from AI?
A little bit. It's coming more and more. There's a group of astrologers working on a program that will be to do astrology charts, but it has an AI engine so that you can do more, you know, around, for example, setting up just more automatic things, you know, that flag you and tell you this person has this person has that. So the programs are pretty good right now, but you can see so much room for improvement. And when you have AI, the possibilities are fabulous. So I would say these next 5 years, and which, by the way, this is the Pluto and Aquarius switch that we're just about to hit. Pluto will now finally, in November, leave Capricorn. It's been in Capricorn since 2008 and goes into Aquarius. One of the effects is, you know, technology, things like AI are going to become more dominant. And yeah, I know people worry a lot about it being misused, but you just have to, you know, trust that there'll be counterpoints, you know, to catch people. Because the other thing too is that this is like I'm going to say the odds are good of this, but, you know, we're so sick and tired of experiencing this all these years that sometimes I think maybe it's just not going to happen. But all the lies and the disinformation, I pin that on the Neptune cycle from 2011 to 2026. So it's gonna change. So what I'm hoping for is that society becomes a lot more intolerant of lies, and truth becomes important, because it's become this thing where, I mean, it's just incredible what JD and Trump do. They just make it up. Like, it's not true, but they say it, and they even tell I couldn't believe JD says to the woman, I think it was Dina Bash or someone. He said, "Well, you're not attacking Kamala enough, so I have to make things up." Seriously, I mean, come on.
Wait a
Come on,
second.
man.
You guys weren't supposed to fact check.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, I mean, he gets upset about fact checking. Apparently, Trump didn't want to do the 60 Minutes debate because he was going to fact check. And the person said, one of the 60 Minutes people said, "We fact checked everything. This is how we do it." He knows the rules. So it's incredible. I mean, that you would argue that this is the Kellyanne Conway alternative facts universe, right? They want to take you into a world of lies. Well, society unravels when everybody lies, right? It's just not good. It's a terrible, terrible thing. It has to be removed. And I'm hoping Neptune switching signs will help in that sense, right? But again, they're slow-moving planets. Like, Neptune gets out a little bit next year, and then it gets out fully in 26.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Grizzly wants to know, will Pluto going direct keep bringing difficulty on the world?
Well, Pluto, I think it's more like it continues it. Let me see the day when Pluto goes direct, because the station in October. Let's see. So Pluto. Well, first of all, it's direct like as of the 12th, so like 3 days. We're in the station, right?
Yeah.
So if you think of the last time it was doing this was last year in the same region. That was the Israeli war breaking out. And now the war has accelerated. So on that level, Pluto is harsh. Also, it's just a difficult planet. You can tie it, I mentioned Uranus, but I said in yesterday's video, Uranus and Pluto both are involved in the hurricane. The idea of death and destruction, that's Pluto, for sure. So in that sense, October, yeah, it's not a good month. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. You yourself said that you're not very hopeful around the hurricane being in anything easy. That is probably really hard.
I just see more damage, a lot of damage.
Yeah, right, but that's hard. It affects people's lives. They lose property.
People
They can lose their
want
life.
to have a roof over your head. I see them having a double step to really help people out.
Yeah, so Pluto that way is easier in November, December, than it is in October. It's like that.
So here's the last question from Sab. Will Kamala be president in 2025? This question is different from will she win?
I know, but I get questions like that all the time. They'll say, "Yeah, well, your astrology sounds good, but Trump will cheat and win anyway." And I always say, and here's a funny line: the astrology trumps that argument. Sorry, I mean, if you win, you win, right? Like, as far as what the astrology says, you can't say, "Well, the astrology says you win, but the situation on the ground will prevent you from winning." That's not how it works. No. So,
and I've had people write me and say, "Oh, so Nate Silver, who he's a con man, by the way. Oh, did you see he predicts she won't win the electoral?" Yeah, she's going to win. She's going to win, and she will be president. And you saw this way before all this happened.
yeah, no, and well, even more, by the way, I have a sense that Kamala's going to do 2 terms, solid
Me too.
through. So there's that as well.
Because she's going to get that Medicare for the elderly, so you can take care of your family members at home. Because she remembers what it was like to have to take care of her sick mother.
Yeah, well, and I'm calling it on the astrology, basically, that you can see the odds are really good.
But she's going to hit up those rich people. They're going to have to pay their fair share.
Yeah, no, she's definitely, even if she's not as progressive as, hardcore progressives want, she's definitely on that side of the equation. That's why Trump's favorite insult is to say that she's a communist, which she's not. But definitely, these are patterns that get improved by people that are, democratic. Which, by the way, this is the other thing. Everything is this way. I mean, the thing about these people that I most dislike, even if you say, well, yeah, I'm pro-business, everything happens through business and capitalism, but they're basically a level above that. They're crooks. I mean, if it weren't for democratic governments, you would never, people would be working 80 hours a week. Look back in history, right? It was Democrats that brought in and said,
Our children would be working.
yeah, this has been the argument that Al Sharpton makes. He says, hey, you're telling me why I'm a Democrat, because if I'm not a Democrat, who's going to pass anything that ever helps me? Because you guys are interested in that. You're interested in, in a way, they're like similar to the slaveholders back in the Civil War, right? It's got that quality of how can I make you do what I want for me? So it's like I'm gaining and you're just like, there serving me. You need a democratic government to say, no, come on, let's
Yeah,
make it a
and
little
they
more
still
equal.
want to pay people barely enough money to live while they have the huge amounts. And what about that guy, that plastics guy that made everybody stay at work and a bunch of them got killed?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's you can go back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and you can see how children were working around the clock, 12 hours. Now, by the way, some of these Republicans are actually talking about putting children to work. I mean, it's so nuts. It's so nuts that what century are you living in? How can that ever play in a good way? They're just determined, just like they're determined to keep women in their place. Really stupid
Oh,
idea.
and they
in
want
my
to
opinion.
monitor your periods and they want to do all the, yeah, that's the reason they're going to. When I heard about Roe versus Wade, I said they've awoken the sleeping giant.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And you can see that in that. Remember, we were saying the battle between Eris and Pluto. Eris is in their heart now, and Eris is the warrioress. That's what won the 2020 election. Those planets were square. The 2020 election was women voting, even though they elected Biden. That's why Biden won. Now there's
Yeah.
an actual woman running. Same now, even more because now the Dobbs came in. They're not thinking straight because these really smart judges. You could have told them that. Don't do that because if you do that, you'll awaken
Well,
the
they
sleeping
just said,
giant.
no, Texas can prevent people from being taken care of who are dying. Remember the
Yeah,
Biden administration put it towards the Supreme Court. They said, no, let them die.
yeah. No, I mean, and again, what are the odds that has a long-lasting
Yeah.
power? They're low. Because people
What makes
mobilize.
them think that's going to make people run out and vote for them? Hell no.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Well, my friend, it's been
All right. That was wonderful as usual, right?
Yeah, we had a good time. I missed you while you was gone.
Oh, I missed you too. I know.
Yeah.
Let's reconvene soon, because next week, I mean, this thing now, right now the moon's in Capricorn, so it has another few signs to go. Then we get the full moon, and that territory I think is going to be very interesting.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Some more stuff coming up. I
Oh,
can't tell you what it is, but it's definitely not pro-Trump.
no, 100%. I mean, the October overall is quite a tough month because you've got the Pluto station, which we talked about, and you've got this thing where the Sun and Mars, they're kind of traveling together in a square. That's also the violence in the Middle East, by the way, and the potential for some of that here, though I'm more skeptical about that here. But it's just an angry energy, the whole time. And the Republicans are joining that and making it worse, right?
Yeah.
So then that's why the month is difficult. But I would just say to everyone, stay calm, make sure you vote. By the way, that's really funny. People will comment on my channel. Well, this sounds good, but people still have to vote. Yeah, well, of course.
Of course you have to vote.
Of course you have to vote. That's the whole point. I mean, in a way, is to say your vote is really important. Go and do it. You want to win by as much as
Everybody
possible.
vote. Be sure to vote. Your vote
Exactly.
counts.
All right. We'll say goodbye to everyone for now. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.